Okay, let's unpack this. We are jumping into something that touches pretty much everyone's life. How to get a handle on your money.
Yeah.
But importantly, not by feeling like you're constantly sacrificing, but, by just getting smarter about it. We've got quite a stack of material here, notes, research, looking at all sorts of clever budget hacks and financial strategies.
And what's really interesting, I think, is how this collection of sources frames the whole idea.
Yeah.
It seems less about, just tightening the belt for the sake of it,
Right. Yeah.
and more about building a life where your money actually supports you, rather than being this constant source of stress.
Finding genuine value. Yeah.
Exactly. Gaining control and ultimately finding a bit more peace of mind through it all.
And that really is the mission for this duck dive, isn't it? To go through all this material, pull out the absolute most important, most actionable insights,
And practical stuff.
the kind of stuff you can actually use. So you can sort of shortcut your way to being well-informed on practical financial health. Think of it like building a solid financial toolkit.
Okay.
We're going to start with the foundation, building a budget, then look at smart ways to cut costs, maybe how to boost your income.
Frugal living comes up too.
Yeah, embracing frugal living, tackling debt, building savings, and even thinking long term. And yeah, we definitely found some surprising points and some really relatable examples woven through this material.
It feels like the material really tries to address that initial hurdle so many people face, that feeling of, okay, I know I need to do something, but where on earth do I even begin?
Exactly. And that seems to be where creating a budget comes in, right? It's presented in these sources as the absolute cornerstone.
Definitely, the starting point.
And it doesn't have to be scary. It apparently starts with figuring out what you want your money to do for you, basically, setting your financial goals.
Right. And the sources talk quite a bit about breaking this down. Whether it's saving for something short term, like a new gadget or a weekend trip,
Okay.
or maybe something medium term, like a down payment on a car, maybe even a house in the next few years. Or those really big long-term goals like retirement or building that crucial emergency fund.
And writing them down, making them specific.
Yeah, that was consistently highlighted, like a real game changer, because it gives your money a purpose beyond just, paying the monthly bills.
Okay, so once you know why you're doing this, the next crucial step, and maybe the one people dread the most, is tracking where your money is actually going.
Ah, yes. The tracking phase.
This can feel tedious, I imagine, but the sources were pretty clear. You simply cannot manage what you don't measure.
So true. And it's amazing how many people vastly underestimate their spending, especially on those smaller daily things, the coffees, the lunches out.
They add up fast.
They really do. And thankfully, the material offered various approaches, recognizing that, one size doesn't fit all here.
So what kind of approaches?
Well, everything from using dedicated budgeting apps that automatically categorize expenses for you
Makes it easier.
to simple spreadsheets if you like having a bit more manual control, or even just the act of writing things down for a few weeks in an old-fashioned expense journal.
Right.
The key, really, is finding a method you'll actually stick with. The goal isn't punishment. It's just about getting clarity.
Clarity to see the difference between needs and wants.
Exactly. And spotting those little hidden money leaks.
And that clarity then directly informs setting a realistic budget. The sources really hammered home that it needs to be both flexible and achievable.
Yeah, not something you set once and forget or something so tight you give up after a week.
So you start with your total monthly income, right? Everything
Yeah.
coming in.
Then you look at those tracking results you just did and list out your fixed expenses, the non-negotiables like rent, utilities, loan payments.
The things that are roughly the same each month.
Right. And then the variable ones, groceries, transport, going out, entertainment. Categorizing them helps you see where you have to spend versus where you maybe can make choices.
And there was that framework mentioned, the 50-30-20 rule.
Yeah, that came up quite a bit in the material. It's a popular guideline. Aiming for about 50% of your after-tax income on needs, 30% on wants, and crucially, 20% dedicated to savings and debt repayment.
It's not like a rigid law, though.
No, definitely not. More like
Yeah.
a helpful benchmark to see if your spending is roughly aligned with getting ahead.
That structure makes it less abstract, doesn't it? It's about building a plan that lets you live comfortably today while still actively working towards those future goals we talked about.
Absolutely. And what's fascinating is how the sources then immediately shift from this sort of overall budget view to diving into specific practical ways to reduce spending, but without feeling deprived. starting with essentials.
Right, and one area that consistently popped up as having a huge impact was meal planning and smarter grocery shopping.
Oh, definitely. The examples showed how even spending just an hour a week planning meals could drastically cut down on those impulse buys at the store.
And ensure you use up what you already have in the fridge or pantry.
Exactly. Reducing food waste, which is basically throwing money away.
Mm-hmm.
And it automatically steers you towards cheaper home cooking versus expensive takeout or last-minute meals.
Planning around sales cycles and what's in season was also mentioned.
Yeah, simple stuff, but effective. That alone can lower the grocery bill significantly. Plus, techniques like batch cooking,
Mm-hmm.
making larger portions you can use for multiple meals, or freeze for later.
Saves time and money.
In the long run, absolutely.
And remember, coupons, the sources pointed out they're not just for your grandma anymore.
I know, definitely not. With digital apps and store loyalty programs, they're back and actually easier than ever to use.
Yeah, they gave examples of people using apps and combining digital discounts with store sales to make a really noticeable difference at the checkout.
It all adds up. Then, moving beyond food, the material showed how saving on home energy can yield surprisingly big results over time.
Things like switching to LED bulbs.
Yep, that was a big one. Also, sealing drafts around windows and doors using smart thermostats. Things that aren't just environmentally friendly, which is great.
But translate into real dollars off the monthly bill.
Exactly.
Mhm.
Even simple things like, unplugging devices that draw phantom power when they're off.
Like the TV or chargers.
Yeah, those little lights mean they're still using electricity, or using power strips you can switch off completely. Small habits, the sources said, but they collectively add up to meaningful savings on utility bills.
Okay, so that's the cost-cutting side. If we connect this to the bigger picture, while cutting costs is essential, the sources also emphasize the importance of, well, increasing your income streams as part of a healthy financial picture.
Yes, the other side of the coin.
Yeah.
Bringing more in.
And here's where it gets really interesting, I think. Side hustles weren't just presented as, a way to earn extra cash,
Right.
but often as a path to explore skills or interests outside your main job. The examples included people turning hobbies like crafting or photography into income.
Or offering professional services on the side, like writing or graphic design. Leveraging existing skills in new ways without necessarily needing a whole new career change right away.
Popular ideas that kept coming up included things like online tutoring, using platforms for pet care like dog walking or pet sitting. That seems huge now.
It really is. Or selling handmade goods online through sites like Etsy. The key insight here seemed to be aligning the side income with something you're already good at or genuinely enjoy.
Makes it feel less like a chore, right?
Exactly. More sustainable.
And even simpler, just decluttering and selling things you no longer need was highlighted as a way to get an immediate cash injection.
Yeah, that's something most people can probably do right now.
Mm-hmm.
The sources pointed to online marketplaces like eBay or Facebook Marketplace, and even specific apps for selling clothes or other items. Makes it pretty easy to connect with buyers directly from your home.
Freelancing was another avenue explored, particularly for people with professional skills.
Turning expertise in, say, marketing, coding, accounting, whatever it might be, into freelance gigs can offer flexibility and significantly boost income.
The material suggested starting by identifying what skills you could offer, maybe exploring freelance platforms like Upwork or Fiverr to find initial work, and gradually building a portfolio.
Yeah, it's presented as a path that can not only increase income, but also build new skills and expand your professional network at the same time.
Okay, so you're finding smart ways to reduce spending, exploring options to bring in more money. The sources then tied this into adopting a more intentional approach to spending and living.
Right, embracing what they often called frugal living habits. And again, the emphasis wasn't on deprivation, but on finding smart, value-driven alternatives.
And DIY projects and minor home repairs were a big part of this, apparently.
Oh yeah, the examples showed people learning basic repairs like fixing a leaky faucet or patching drywall from online tutorials.
Saving a ton of money compared to hiring someone.
A ton. And also gaining confidence in their ability to handle things themselves, which is valuable too.
The material pointed towards readily available online resources like YouTube videos or blogs that make learning these skills really accessible now.
Definitely. Starting small with simple fixes and maybe investing in a basic, versatile toolkit were recommended steps.
Using public transportation, particularly if you live in or near an urban area, was another consistent theme brought up.
Yeah, the financial benefits were framed as going beyond just saving on gas. It included reduced wear and tear on a car, potentially lower insurance costs, avoiding parking fees.
All those hidden costs of car ownership.
Exactly. The sources even mentioned the potential positive environmental impact as sort of an added bonus. Planning routes ahead of time and exploring alternatives like bike shares were practical tips offered for making that shift easy.
And then a deeper dive into minimalism. This was presented not just as like an aesthetic choice,
Right, not just white walls and few possessions.
but as having profound financial implications. By focusing on fewer, more intentional purchases and prioritizing quality over quantity, people found they naturally spent less on unnecessary stuff.
And potentially even saved on living space if they chose to downsize as a result.
So the core strategies discussed for adopting this mindset were things like regularly decluttering to really understand what you truly need and use.
Being more mindful before making purchases, asking, do I really need this? And shifting focus towards experiences and relationships rather than just accumulating more physical possessions.
Which leads us naturally to saving on entertainment because the sources were clear. Living on less doesn't mean living a boring life.
Absolutely not. There are tons of ways to have fun that don't break the bank. Focusing on free or low-cost activities in your local community was a big one.
Like what specifically?
Well, they gave examples of people discovering free concerts in the park, community movie nights, local festivals, exploring hiking trails, or visiting museums on their free admission days.
Activities that offer real enjoyment without the typical cost of paid entertainment.
Exactly. And libraries were highlighted as these incredibly underutilized resources.
Right, not just for books anymore.
No way. For free workshops, classes, sometimes even borrowing things like tools or streaming service passes depending on the library system, really worth checking out what your local library offers.
Managing subscriptions and memberships also came up as kind of a quick win.
Oh yeah, the subscription creep. The material suggested regularly auditing what you're actually paying for each month. Streaming services, gym memberships you never use, apps.
And canceling anything you aren't actively using.
Right, utilizing free trials wisely, like actually canceling before they charge you, and even considering sharing costs on some services with family or friends were practical tips mentioned.
And finally, they included budget-friendly travel tips. Travel doesn't have to be this huge indulgence.
No, the sources discuss strategies like traveling during the off-season or shoulder seasons, which can be significantly cheaper for flights and accommodation.
Exploring alternatives to traditional hotels like vacation rentals or even hostels.
And the simple but effective trick of packing light to avoid those checked baggage fees, which can add up quickly. These small adjustments could make travel much more accessible without sacrificing the actual experience.
Okay, so with costs managed, income strategies explored. The sources then really emphasized that tackling debt is absolutely critical for building any kind of real financial stability.
Yeah, you can't really get ahead if you're constantly weighed down by high-interest debt. Prioritizing which debts to attack first is key.
And they laid out the two main approaches, didn't they? Avalanche and snowball.
They did. The avalanche method, which mathematically saves you the most money over time because you focus on paying off the debts with the highest interest rates first.
Makes sense financially.
Right. And then the snowball method, where you focus on paying off the smallest debts first, regardless of interest rate. This one provides psychological wins along the way.
Like quick victories to keep you motivated.
Exactly. Whichever method you choose, setting up automatic payments was also strongly recommended to just avoid accidentally missing payments and getting hit with late fees.
And here's a nugget that might surprise some people listening. The material suggested that many creditors are actually open to negotiation.
Yes.
Yeah.
This was interesting. They discussed how being proactive, actually reaching out to your credit card company or lender, being honest about your situation.
Not just ignoring the problem.
No, facing it. And proposing a manageable payment plan, or even just asking directly for a lower interest rate, could actually be effective.
Really? People had success with that?
Yeah, the example showed this could lead to successfully lowering interest rates or maybe temporarily adjusting payment terms, which makes the whole repayment process more manageable. The key advice was always follow up any verbal agreements in writing, though. Get it documented.
Good point. And if debt feels completely overwhelming or you're just struggling to make any headway, seeking professional help was presented not as a failure,
Definitely no.
but as a really wise and sometimes necessary step.
Right. Options discussed included nonprofit credit counseling services. They can often help consolidate debts or create a debt management plan, or working with a fee-only financial advisor for personalized guidance.
Even exploring debt consolidation loans, maybe, to simplify payments at a potentially lower interest rate?
Yeah, that was mentioned too, although you have to be careful with those and understand the terms. The point was there are resources out there if you need help.
Okay, so moving beyond debt, the sources were absolutely unequivocal about the importance of building an emergency fund.
The safety net.
Yeah.
Yeah, described as the critical financial shock absorber for life's inevitable curveballs. Losing a job, unexpected medical bills, a major car repair.
Stuff happens.
Stuff always happens.
Yeah.
And the material highlighted how this fund reduces financial stress like almost nothing else. It prevents you from having to take on high-interest debt when those emergencies hit.
And generally makes you more resilient to financial shocks, allowing you to make calmer, better decisions instead of panic decisions.
Precisely. And they gave clear strategies for building it. First, start by setting a specific target amount.
How much?
Typically, the advice is aiming for 3 to 6 months of essential living expenses. So you need to calculate what that number actually is for your specific situation: rent, food, utilities, transport, basic needs.
Okay, calculate the target. Then what?
Then, treat saving for it like a non-negotiable fixed expense. Automated. Set up automatic transfers from your checking to a separate, maybe high-yield savings account every payday.
So the money is moved before you even have a chance to spend it. Out of sight, out of mind.
Exactly. That's usually the most effective way. Temporarily cutting back on some non-essential spending specifically to build a fund faster, or dedicating unexpected income windfalls like tax refunds or bonuses were also presented as effective ways to quickly boost that fund.
Get it built up faster. Makes sense. Finally, the sources turn to looking further ahead long-term financial planning, starting with investing.
Yeah, and the key message wasn't that investing is only for the wealthy, but that it's an essential strategy for pretty much anyone looking to build wealth over time.
Why is it so essential?
Well, mainly leveraging compound growth, where your earnings start earning their own earnings, and protecting your money's purchasing power against inflation over the long haul. Cash sitting still loses value over time.
Okay, so how does one get started? Seems intimidating.
It can be. The steps outlined included, first, educating yourself on the basics, different investment types like stocks, bonds, or pooled funds, like mutual funds and ETFs.
What are ETFs again?
Exchange-traded funds. They often track an index, like the S&P 500, and can be very low cost. Figuring out your own comfort level with risk was highlighted as really important.
And diversification.
Crucial. The old don't put all your eggs in one basket principle, spreading your money across different types of investments. And maybe most importantly, starting small but being consistent with contributions was a recurring piece of advice. You don't need a fortune to begin.
And investing obviously plays a critical role in retirement planning.
Hugely. The sources really stressed that starting early is absolutely key because of that power of compounding over decades.
Time is your biggest asset there.
It really is. Key elements they discussed included setting a clear retirement income goal. How much will you need to live on? Then, utilizing tax-advantaged accounts.
Like 401ks or IRAs.
Exactly. Things like 401ks, if your employer offers one, especially if there's an employer match. That's basically free money for your future self.
Definitely take the match.
Always. Or individual retirement accounts, IRAs, if you don't have a workplace plan or want to save more. And importantly, regularly reviewing and adjusting your plan as your life circumstances and goals inevitably change over time. It's not set it and forget it forever.
Okay, wow. So what does this all mean when you pull it together? We've covered a lot of ground.
We have.
The material seemed to bring it back to these core strategies, didn't it? First, getting your arms around your money with a budget and tracking.
Then finding those smart ways to cut costs without feeling totally deprived.
Exploring options to increase your income, whether big or small.
Consciously choosing frugal habits that actually align with your values, not just because they're cheap.
Tackling debt head-on, strategically.
Building that absolutely essential emergency fund safety net.
And finally, looking towards your future by investing and planning for retirement, even if it feels far away.
And they really reinforce the idea that taking control of your finances isn't about some grand gesture overnight. It's about manageable, actionable steps using these kinds of strategies we've talked about.
Yeah, every small change you make, that single meal you planned instead of ordering takeout, that unwanted item you sold online, that automatic savings transfer you set up.
It all adds up significantly over time.
And persistence and adaptability are key, right? Life is messy, and your financial situation will face curveballs, unexpected expenses, income changes.
Always. But having this foundation, this toolkit of strategies, helps you navigate those challenges without getting completely derailed. It gives you options.
Ultimately, the goal isn't just about, well, accumulating money for its own sake. It seems to be about creating a financial structure that allows you to build a life that you actually thrive in.
Yeah, where money serves your life, your goals, your values, not the other way around.
So, as you, the listener, reflect on your own financial journey and everything we've covered here, maybe think about how shifting your focus from simply saving money to building a life that allows you to thrive changes your perspective.
That's a good thought.
And maybe out of all these different strategies we've discussed, the budgeting, the saving, the earning, the investing, which single one resonates most with you right now? Which one feels like a tangible starting point for your own path to greater financial wellness? Something to think about as you start putting these insights into practice.